Rabbi say. So this the Maile Madin Ketzel, the Mata Mata Adin Tachlis parallels the two kinds of makif, makif arochik, makif akorib. So we have two examples, one of the Rav and now of a bias and a garment. The point being that even the makif arochik has hashpah, has an effect. The house protects him, including his garments. So the pull of the makif arochik affects the person not in a revealed way. It's not like the other marshal, the makif hakorov, where the Talmud senses immediately that there's something beyond that he's not grasping, and eventually he'll get it. Here, there's not even that sense because it's makif harochik. Right now to Raptu. You say, Mamshech b'maimer shaskolis ha'elu, this higher level of seichel, the makif harochik, shem b'bchinas makif harochik she'ene begeder gilir klal, they are so deep that they are not given to expression at all. So, but they're given. The point was that the house is a makif harochik, but it protects you. On the contrary, it's your greatest protection from the elements. So you have it, but however, boim al yedei levushim amalimim mastirim. So the makif harochik is given in garments, and then he does actually learn this. He did Rav Tavinyan Bezeh. We'll continue. So it's given, not to confuse this with the Moshel of the Vush versus bias. So it's given in a way that conceals the Meshalim and the riddles, the parables and riddles. We don't see that there's any deep idea here. Like Shlomo Melech's parables, you don't see in the parable the deep idea. And that's why Lechem is important. But we have it. In the Marshal, you have it. Now, it's hard in the Marshal to see, so what's the point of you having it? If you have no clue what this conveys, and you have a nice story of a fox, Asher al-Gain, but in the Nimshal, you can see it. It means that you are empowered by something you cannot appreciate or don't even know the depth of the power that you have that's invested in you. The Atzmius of Alikus, which unlocks the Atzmius of your Neshama. As is often the case, at least for me, the Nimshal is far more clear than the Moshel. But the Moshel helps us. Now, Torah, which is actually not a Shlomo Melech is not a moshel it's not a model. This is it. In Sipuri Maisis of Torah, Yesh Bem Soidis Verosin Eloin Harbe, Yosek may be Dinei Torah. So in the stories of Torah, you have the lofty secrets more than the actual halachas. Then we can understand that also. A Yid learns a story that God composed, that God related, and invested in this, the Eibishter's being in that story, and you have it. And it is unappreciable, but you have it. But it's not recognizable. Because what are you getting? The etzem oiru soid sosum, it's a concealed light. Now again, I believe the maimah means that the etzem oiru soid sosum means pasha, that there is an eibishter. And that's fundamentally not articulable. They has to can only be said there's an ears of God. You're not saying anything about it. Just a statement of Hester Vehelim. Behind the revelation to begin with is fundamentally removed. It's still an oir. It's a revelation of the presence of God, but uncompromisingly, as it were. And therefore, to give over that truth, that means his galus, it comes in a way of havdalah. It's removed from the recipient. It doesn't engage in his mind and heart, but pnimius, it cannot. And it comes with almost be'etzem, if fundamentally concealed in Yiddish, the words of the Frierdiker Rebbe, a vermachter Inyan, a closed matter, to call in Yonu, Bavdallah vis almos, everything is in a state of removedness and concealment. Now again, to explain this poshet, what in heaven's name are we talking about? It means that there's nothing to be said about God. Other than he exists, and even that's a limitation of, as we said the other day, is motzi ve'enem motzi. So it's a vermachter Inyan. There's not a discussion about this. So tell me about him. I can tell you all the things he reveals and he does, and lots of things about him. Vermachter Inyan, he is, and the Yid also is, the same thing. Tell me about what a Jew is. I can tell you. He does lots of strange things, but what he is, vermachter Inyan, elikus, Inyan atmi. To the best of my knowledge and ability, I think this is what this is all saying. I have no other way to explain it, and haven't let anybody else explain it either. So let's continue. Now, the Rebbe is going to explain further. Now, there is a seichel she'efshel asbir lazulus. There is an idea that can be explainable. The Rebbe is going to unwrap here, really elaborate upon the lower moshel, as he said before, beginning of the Maamri. In order to appreciate the Lamayla Badin Ketz, we have to understand the Lamat to appreciate the Matmadin Tachlis. So there's a lot of arichas in the previous Oisis, and even now on the lower moshel, in order to appreciate the Atzmizdike one, about which at the end there's not much to say. Or nothing to say. So when it's a seichel, you can explain as is. So then you need a lot of arichas habib, but Rabbi Oisis need a lengthy explanation and lots of letters and words. The Rabbi will illustrate this for us. The lower the recipient, the more words you need. And you see this, the language of the Mishnah, in contrast to the language of the Gemara. Everything the Gemara discusses and elaborates at great length, it's all hinted in the Mishnah. Ella. The Mishnah, it said, with absolute brevity. Why? Because they are at a much higher level, and all these words just compromise the idea. Given Shahisa daitam, or limited, screened it. There, daitam was rechava, they had broad minds, the tanoim, and therefore, bekitzer was the way they conveyed the idea, the sublimity, is that a word? Of the idea. Dafka comes bekitzer. But then when you get a smaller mind, the generations which followed, we've got to elaborate and explain more words and more words. But that's all a moshel, not a moshel, not a moshel. That's illustrative of the lower level of a likus, the level that's apprehendable, the level to begin with is this wonderful ideas and revelations of God. There's a seichel which is very concealed. It cannot be given. More words will not help you. It has to be given in a concealed way to begin with, not brevity. Brevity is the moshel for the accessible seichel. We're not talking brevity because of daitam rechava, so they understand nuance. Fakert. Here it's not brevity, here it's a stimus. It's a moshel, it's a story, gamarno, it's concealed. The idea is a concealed truth, it must be expressed in a concealed way. Al derech stimme the chol stimme. This parallels the level of Maila, which hidden from the hidden. Stam hidden is accessible. Hidden from the hidden, the Maimon is saying is not accessible. This will not be revealed through expansive explanations and lots of biyurim explanations. It has to be given in a way which is sosem gadei mishalom v'chides. A moshel and a riddle she'enam Bir inyan zegufa, they do not explain the matter beyeser achova with greater expansiveness, but at the they're not bringing the idea down, they're closing it. You're conveying it in the story of a fox. Because that's the marshal. You see why I'm invoking that. It's something external entirely, or the king's daughter, whatever, the king's son. Moishe, like Chazal say, to what can the matter be compared? So we're invoking something else entirely to put this idea in. Shal Yodai Yechodim Love Lavona saying, and it's only to know. This throws a little bit. These words I saw actually other Maimorim. This is not Muga. I saw other Hanochas that don't have these words. This is what? So you do come to Avona saying? We're saying the whole time it's a Machtering. So I don't know. It's not the Muga can't be Medaik, and as I told you, other Maimorim do not have these words. Other Hanochas. So if we're learning correctly, otherwise we're completely off on the entire structure of the Maimer. These words mean, Al Yodai, Lava, you have the inyan. It means Avon in the looser sense. But you cannot have the conscious explanation. Because these words alone would sound like, if you think deeply about the marshal, you'll eventually unravel the idea. No. Said clearly before, the figure Rabbi said, there's only Chazal Baruch HaKodesh. That's not Avona. It's a point made clearly. So, l'chayda, this word, if it was said, is not meant in classic understanding. It means you have the through the marshal, you have the inyan. It is a seichel, and it's understood up there, but you don't understand it and can never, but you have it. L'chayda, that's what has to be said. Again, I'm supported by this, by the fact that other Hanachas don't have these words. It also gets a little bit now complex with the next statement, because just prepare you to what's throwing me here, what we're grappling with here is, because he's about to say that in Stimmen, the Chol Stimmen, there are dargas also. In the broad sense, if there is an Eibishter, there's no dargas. But there is dargas, Stimmen, the Chol Stimmen. There is dargas. So that's what he's going to say. If this seichel that cannot be given in Oisius is even deeper, so in that world, okay, there's etzema, there's dargas, whatever it is. Clearly there's levels. There's levels in Stimmen, the Chol Stimmen, in beyond. I mean, this can be explained, and is explained. There are dargas. What's the point? Therefore, one moshel is not going to you can't even put it in one moshel. Or even base for given moshelim, 2 or 3. You need a whole array of moshelim. He said 3,000 moshelim. Now I want to tell you something. The way I see some of the other Hanachas write it, so they describe it as different Mishalim. But Be'em is different, but parallel. Different Mishalim. Tzarich Iyun. If one Mashal can give it, how does it give, if it's Inyan Sosa? I don't know. But the way Bechlal said this, it says about this Mishalim, it's the Mishalim on Mishalim. It's not 3,000 different stories. Level Marshal 1, beyond us. A Marshal and a Marshal and a Marshal and a Marshal. Within the Mishalim. That's what he means here too. And that's because it's so deep that even the packaging, which is to begin with, Marshal is something foreign and it's closed, but it's so deep that has to be closed further. The Mishalim get lower and lower and lower and lower. Tzorech Iyun, this needs a lot. Tzorech Iyun, you're all welcome to ask and research and try and understand what's going on. We're doing our best. So he needed 3,000 Mishalim שדווקא על יודם יוכל הזולס לקבל העניין. He doesn't see it to understand. He says, let's the couple. Now it's clear. So it's only through these misholim that the other can get the inyan. Not understand it, get it, have it. Not get it as in grasp it, but have it. This is what he's all talking now, is all in the higher level. It's not that deep, but it's still beyond the ken of the Talmud. Then you don't need so many mishalim. The Gemara says like this. Once in heaven, Gimel Meis Mishalos Shualim Hoyel Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir used to give 300 mishalim from the fox. There's always the fox. He's the wily creature, and he's always engaging the wolf, not the wolf, whatever it is, the wolf, some other creature, and in the end he gets, the fox outwits him. 300 mishalim. We only have 3. Those 3, by the way, are in Mishlei. Those 3 are in Mishlei. So why? And Rabbi Meir, interesting, Rabbi Meir, it doesn't say the Maimer, but Rabbi Meir, it says, well, the halacha wasn't like him because the Chachamim could not grasp him. Like, they couldn't grasp the depth of his seichel. So this fits, therefore his seichel was so profound. He had 300 mishalim to give over what he said. But we only have 3 mishalim because to begin with, the ideas that we are learning are not even the sosim, not that sosim. Again, tzarech needs to be understood. What does it mean in the darga of stimin, the chol stimin? There's dargas, but there are dargas. And that's also the meaning of the stories of Torah. Externally, they're stories. Like parables. And it's noteworthy, the whole Torah is called Moshel HaKadmoni, God's primal Moshel. The whole Torah is called the Moshel. And because Mokayim is a dafka of the stories. Dafka in the Agadata. That's it. Alter Rebbe says, and Tanya quoted this, in the Agadata, the stories of Torah. That's what Rav said this, Torah Genuzimba. Most secrets of Torah are hidden in the stories of Torah, not in the halachas. Because Mokim Dafka Yodam Nimshachim in Yonim Elo, but only through the stories and the Mishalim are drawn such matters. She'enam clear, Yecholim Lisgalis Ba'avana Va'asaga Shebedine V'alachas Hadid. It cannot be revealed in understanding as is in the halachas, which are rational and explained, and they're moral, and they have messages, and they have accomplishments, etc. We need to understand this further. We're all grappling. That gives us more explanation. So let's not be chachamim gedolim. Let's learn. Vav. I mean, again, there are these significant differences between the different Tanachas. I had a question of one Tanach I was reading, and I sent it to my spaces. Where are you reading from? She didn't make sense to me either. Like what? And I realized there's different Tanachas. It's not one. This is Teres Menachem. I mean, this is a whole team of fellas. They're the best of the best, so we're going with that. That's the one that they're printing or giving all over the world. So we're still puzzled to understand what this means, that Dafkin, the Moshul, you have the deepest Indian. So, Maimed Abal Shem Tov. Shuva B'Kesser Shem that's brought in, the Sefer Kesser Shem Tov, B'Negelis Purim Sheb'Torah, in explaining the virtue of the stories of Torah. There's the halacha, the Amais. What's the Moshel Abal Shem? The Moshel, the Melech. He gives a moshel. He's giving a moshel to understand the Maila of Sipurim, which are Meshalim. Al Derech Meshalim. Moshel Melech Sheshalach B'nai Yechida L'Merechakim. A king sent his only child to the distant places of the realm. Why? He has tainig, pleasure, delights in his child with him. But, Kedei Sheyir Lo Achakach Yoseh Tainig. Because when he goes and then comes back, he'll have even greater pleasure. Absence makes the heart grow fond, or distance, absence makes the heart grow fond. So what happened? It's a beautiful thing. Send him away. Parting is such sweet sorrow. And then when we reunite, boy, that's really powerful. What a tainug. But the days pass, the child, the son forgets why he's there, this whole point, and the kings delight and love of him. He's not coming back. The whole point is go and come back, and we're going to reunite, and how wonderful it will be. And he's distracted, and he's having a great time where he is, and forgets completely that he's a Ben Melech, and the whole point is to come back to the Ben Melech. So what do we do now? For Sholach Achrov, and the Melech sends messengers. He didn't want to come back. Baruch Nis L'chayda, that means the Eibishter inspires, oblivious, the inspiration doesn't touch him, doesn't talk to me. He sent even greater Giluyim, greater ministers. They didn't help at all. He looked at them, they were totally foreign and ignored them. He's not reachable. He's so distant, he's not reachable. He doesn't respond to anything of the palace, anything of the king's ministers. So what happens? How do we reach him? Says the Baal Shem Tov, there was one wise fellow. This is similar to what does this evoke? One wise fellow? Huh? Yeah, one clever fellow. It's not the same, but etzem it is. It is anon nosef malkin and will be. So he says like this: Sheksus veloshin shina. He changed his clothing and language. Kidmus abedol, just like the son right now is in this place. He's forgotten the language. He's dressed in different levushim. V'niskarav elu b'madrigosei. So he approached the child on his level. He's wearing his garments. He's speaking his language. And then he gained his trust, etc. We don't get what happened after that, but that's it. Shivri el-oviv, and he brings him back to his father. Says the Baal Shem Tov, v'zehu, he slaps satayde b'sipurim gashmi. And this is why the Eibishter invests himself in these physical stories, where the Ben Melech sent down here on this point that the shlichus is the deeper connection. We forget the shlichus, forget the mission, not interested. We don't respond to ruchnius. Respond to a nice story. You got a nice yarn story to entertain me? Tell me a story. We're getting a real appreciation of the Milo, telling your children stories, reading them stories of Torah. Here's what the Atzmius is. Let's continue. I think Adkan is the words of the Baal Shem Tov. Yeah. Now comes the Rebbe elaborates. The king's tainig yeshna gam kasher b'lo yechid nimtze b'smichas ha'elov. He has that when his child is with him, his only son. He's delighting in his son. So what's the problem? I want to really appreciate you, and that's by sending you away, and then we'll reunite. That's after sending him. Returns. Why am I pausing here? Because the way he says it now is that's the plan to begin with. The Moshel doesn't go like that. The Moshel, he sends Sodim, come back, I'm waiting for you. It didn't work. So in the end, the Sar Echad, I'll get him by coming down to his level. The way that Rebbe teaches it is, that's the Chatchil of the Kavan. It's certainly for God. He sends the Neshama Lamata. He knows what's going to happen to the Neshama and the Guf at the outset. And so the outset, God knows that what's going to bring us back Is shinik sus veloshen, is the marshal, is the story. She's saying in Sipuri, I tell you, these are the stories of the Torah. Just thinking about other, it's a whole new appreciation, therefore, of a Sipur and Torah Chassidische Maise. It's not just a hook to get in and entertaining, but here, likt atzmius. So the Rebbe explains now that Baal Shem Tov, it's only through the Torah being invested in these physical stories, Misgalde Yoise Tainug, the deeper Tainug of the Melech with the son, the Eibishter with the Yid is revealed. Okay, it's the whole paradox. Dafke the Tachten, Dafke in Meise. Tainug Darges HaTainug, Shilamayla Mikola Darges B'Tainug. What level of Tainug this Yoise Tainug is? It's higher than all the levels of Tainug which he would have when the Melech is, when the Ben Melech is with the king. It has to be something she'en Yoise Tainug Yimana. A level we're talking of which there is nothing higher. It's Atmis Dike Tainug. That's what Yoise means. Because if there's one higher than that, then forget this one, that one. Yoise means nothing higher. So what is that? Tainug Aposhet. It is a Tainug, as I'll explain later, there's Tainug Murkev and there's Tainug Poshet. There's a composite delight and then there's a simple delight. When did you encounter that, friends? Huh? And your Chasen Maimer, that's what it talks about. Tainug Poshet. So, Kafish is Berla Kamon, which explained at the end of the Maimer, didn't get to the end of the Maimer, but the Tainug Poshet in the end is this essential connection. It's not a Tainug about any experience, but being, just being together. Not engaging in some activity that you're both enjoying, conversation, a game, nothing, no words. Just being together, that's the Tainug Poshet. And that happens, Dafkim, the Ben Melech doesn't even know the language anymore. When the Ben Melech first comes back to the king, he's wearing the clothes from who knows where, and he doesn't speak the language, but he shows up. That's Tainug Poshet. They're not even talking. They can't even speak the same language. But he's here. That's what the king wants, is Tainug Poshet. Further detail and further nuance. Everybody has to chaz and learn. There's no substitute. Okay. Let's continue. And this will explain also the teaching of the Magid. Ala Pasuk, and the Pasuk in Parshas Va'eda, which is this week's Parsha, my friends, Derech Shloishes Moshe Rabbeinu said to Paroi, Derech Shloishes Yomim Neilich. We're going to go for a 3-day journey and we're coming back. That needs to be explained. Why didn't you just tell them we're leaving? Akoponim. One of the reasons is Pshat, to entice them to follow, and they should get their final judgment. Akoponim, now Baruchnius. He's telling, what does it mean? But Pnimius in Yonim, we're going not 2 days, not 3 days. What's 3 days? And where they're going to the desert to receive the Torah. That's what's happening. So what's the beer, says the Magid? Torah was given, God spoke. But words don't come in a vacuum. They come after thought. Words come from thoughts that precede them. Therefore, God spoke Torah. Yep. So there's the thought of Torah. That's 2 levels of Torah. That's as far as God's concerned. What's the Shloishes Yomim? We're going for 3 days. Doesn't end there. Action, we got to do it. He's quoting directly from the Maggid. When we do a mitzvah in action, I say, Ono meyachadim maisa mitzvah, we connect the act, shi'ila masiyah, which we do down in this physical world, imadibur machshava, with the speech of Torah and the thought of Torah, which corresponds him shehem oile mayitzile v'abriya. We connect this physical world with the highest spiritual worlds of Yitzira, that's God's speech, and Bria, God's thought. That's what the Maggid says. Continuing the Maggid's word, that's the 3 days we're going to go in the desert. The Hainu Shleishis Oilamos. We're going to connect the three worlds. Neilech, the Kabbalah Satayra, they're coming with us, as it were. That's our objective in receiving Torah, to fuse the three worlds. By doing the action, Eilam Asiyah, we connect to Bria, to Yitzir, and in Bria. Atkan, the Maggid's word. But he continues, so Maktim Levayir, then he not Adkan, now he continues to explain what he just said by introducing B'negeli Slapshus HaTorah B'Oilamas, that Torah has been invested and given into the creation to the worlds. So overtly, Shekol Masha Misrachak Yosem Mishoshe, the more Torah descends from its source, the divine mind, Shama Torah Yosem Mitzemes, the Torah becomes more contracted and limited. Till Torah is articulated and given to us in this world, Shaboy Hakel B'Tzimtzum Gomer, the Torah is very, very contracted in words and limited. There's almost no mitzvah that doesn't have measure and a shir. And a shir, a measure. He says kimat. Almost. What are the mitzvahs that don't have a shir? Every morning you say it in there. Huh? Huh? Every morning in Brachas. The last statement. Okay, friends, we'll stop here. Sorry. Yeah, Chaim is on to Seattle. So we have permission from the president. We'll stop here and continue Be'ez Hashem. Tomorrow, the big challenge, the 6 o'clock Friday morning challenge. What? Maybe we should have some kind of a reward, like hot chocolate, like they do in camp.
Oh.
Maybe chunk, something. It's Friday morning. You ever what?
We'll go to Medina Sukkah. We'll go to Medina Sukkah and we'll have all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Okay, friends. A wonderful day, Psudas Tovas.